All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much. Accept the minutes from last one.
Motion.
Motion carried. All right, Heather, solutions.
All right, we're gonna go over the same usual suspects here. Sorry, for some reason I thought these were in the opposite order, but they're not. So building and plumbing permits, you can see that we're at about 70% of budget. And that's with about a little under 70% of the year calendar, so those numbers are looking pretty good. Parking revenues, on the other hand, are still looking light. A couple things to note about that is that Front Street municipal lot number is not going to change going forward, the actuals, because once you eliminated the Front Street permits, there's no reason to keep them tracked separately. So they're all going to be recorded in parking and other permits, because that's all we do now. We have just, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is we just now issue a generic parking permit.
Continue.
Me as a star. So one of the things I did check today, because I hadn't really put two and two together, but I think we need to be constantly aware, and obviously when we go into the VEA project process, we'll have this discussion, but the annual Front Street permits for an annual permit for Front Street were $1,000. The regular non-Front Street permits are only $250. So if now everybody that was buying a Front Street permit is now just buying a regular permit that allows them to park anywhere, you can see that our budget was like 400 grand. So it's a potentially significant revenue.
And how many permits were there approximately?
That I couldn't tell you.
The Front Street Municipal Lodge, is that the one across from Amtrak?
Yes.
Okay.
So we went from $1,000 a year for the permit to down to $250 a year for the permit. And people can still park anywhere, even if they have a $250 permit.
That's you're the ones that did it, but that's my interpretation of it, is that there's now, people used to pay money to have a specific spot in the Front Street lot, and that was eliminated. So my assumption is that now everybody just buys a generic parking permit and they're allowed to park there or in any of the other municipal lots.
Parking committee? Who's on parking?
Well, I'm in the parking. No, they have to get the regular tickets, regular. Huh?
They pay as they go.
Yeah, we pay.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that
Sorry, I wouldn't pay.
there are
No
the fees
permits.
in
No, there are
the
no
fee
permits.
schedule, because I just looked at this today because I was curious. The fee schedule for the Front Street lot permits for an annual permit was $1,000.
Right.
The permit for a regular parking permit is $250 a year. So
Well, regular parking permit for where?
any of the municipal lots.
Oh,
So
But
basically,
that doesn't apply to the Amtrak lot.
That is
That was
not
The Amtrak lot, people are going to have to pay on the basis of their usage. There are no permits in the Amtrak lot anymore.
It's gonna end up being more money in the end, because now it's gonna be $10 a day.
Well, hopefully it'll be prorated, so that
Yeah.
if you are parking for, let's say, 2 days or whatever, or 3 days, you get a break, as opposed, because most parking
Yeah.
places have
okay,
a cap on
but
whatever.
that's gonna have to be built into, you guys are gonna have to revise the fee schedule to include that, and I'm gonna need some guidance on that, because we're gonna have to project revenues for 2025, and right now I don't understand.
so
What's going on?
the $250 permit is anywhere in the city except the Amtrak lot, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes,
Yes,
that's right.
yes. And the Amtrak lot, the reason why this was eliminated is gonna bring a lot more money doing it this way, by eliminating the permit.
Okay, so,
Because per day it will cost a lot more. It
okay,
will
so,
be the revenue for us, yeah.
but that wasn't included in the resolution to eliminate the thing, so that's a whole other thing that has to be done to set those fees, especially if you're gonna be
I'm not on
determining,
committee.
okay, especially if you're gonna be trying to determine, how, okay. I'm just gonna.
Now, are
know
you the
what-
chair for parking?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you the chair of parking?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's asking how exactly are we?
I'll come by your office.
Okay, I mean, we can also discuss it just in the VDA meetings, but I'm just gonna need some guidance and something's gonna have to be,
Sure.
the council's going to have to determine the fee schedule and how it's gonna be applied. And if you're talking also about charging per day, but then giving somebody a break that's more the next days, who's gonna manage that whole process and make those determinations in terms of?
That's all gonna be decided.
Because if you purchase,
I'll explain how to.
Okay.
if you
I was
purchase,
panicking, I feel you better.
if you purchase time for multiple days, then it would be a lower fee than the sum of 4 days or 5 days, right? So
And that's all gonna be built into the
That's
ticketing
gonna be-
software
yeah.
down at Amtrak,
That's
into the
gonna be-
kiosks.
But one of the reasons,
Has anybody talked to the tech people about
one of the
Yes.
reasons
Okay.
one of the reasons that this potentially has a better revenue stream is that right now, yes, $1,000 a year is a lot of money for a permit, but however,
a day?
I have a permit for a reserved spot and I'm not using it all the time, so that spot is sitting there vacant and not generating revenue other than my permit.
Mhm.
With this system, every spot potentially is generating revenue all the time.
Just to give you the number, it's gonna be 2/3 more we're gonna be getting per day, per spot, per space, parking space.
And is T2, Tom, is T2 also gonna be managing the kiosk down there too?
Yep.
So it'll be all one system now?
Exactly.
Oh, that's much better. Okay, cool.
See,
So-
now you're happy.
Is this all documented somewhere, this, parking permit? Anywhere?
What?
I mean, what, number one, the change in the permanent structure, like, what's allowed, what's not allowed, how's it all gonna work? Is there
I
dollars?
was somebody with you to figure it all out.
Yeah, but we're the ones who set the fees,
Right.
right? So is there somewhere, where are the only fees being set? Like, there must be
We'll
some,
talk about it in the near future.
Well, we're in the process of this. I mean, we're being
The parking is
interviewing.
coming up.
but, so it hasn't been finalized yet.
No, we have finalized it.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The question is like the question is why we have all these questions. There's gonna be like a one pager that says, okay, here's a new parking schedule, here's the new parking fees. This is what it is. This is what it was, this is what it is.
Okay,
now.
so we have
This is
not
what
done
we're
that
expecting
part.
to look
We
like.
picked the company. We had interview from all the companies. We interviewed all the companies.
Right.
So we found the one we wanted the other. And so
Right.
that's where we are now.
Right.
The actual, correct, huh? So now the actual how much it's gonna be, we haven't figured
Right,
that out.
that's what we need.
It's gonna go up, yeah.
We're the finance committee, so we need
But
to
it
know.
will be probably, it's $10 a day for 9 to 5. That's the base price.
Okay,
But it'll be changed now because you won't have people who can just buy one for $1,000 to put it there endless.
that's great.
That's all the difference.
That's good. So if we have a spreadsheet or something that says, this is what it was, based upon these estimates, this is what happened. This is correct me if I'm wrong.
It's
This is
gonna
what
be a
it
lot
was,
higher.
This is what it's
We're
going
gonna
to
be
be.
having a higher
They
revenue.
weren't that many. They were under 100.
So what happens so we eliminated the Amtrak permits, but we don't have the other parking rules in place yet. What happens for somebody whose permit expires this month? What do they do next?
They pay according to the system. They pay exactly per hour, user day, per day or hour. Yeah. The current app works that way.
Okay.
But that'll be built into.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So any other thing from your perspective on?
So we also may have more revenue from the parking because we're trying to get the liquid parking tickets that haven't been paid. Okay, so this is another effort, I think, from City Hall, correct?
Yeah, but-
We're
but-
sending letters.
The other thing
It's
is,
the meters.
yeah,
Right below.
the kiosk.
Yep.
4 blocks.
Yep, that one.
So
I
that
read.
generated
Yep.
some income.
So the actuals, I think, is gonna go higher.
We did, I will say, and we'll obviously discuss this when we're talking about our revenue projections, but the last time we tried to get a bunch of delinquent taxes, you know where my mind is, delinquent parking tickets paid, it didn't really generate nearly as much as we had hoped.
Aren't we putting the booth eventually? We
That's not
have,
my call. That's
it's
the mayor's call.
mayors and police department.
Yeah.
They have to work together.
I should have said not our call.
Okay, so we're seeing a projected revenue loss or decrease from because of parking today.
No. No, well, based on this conversation, I'm now less concerned about the permit issue. I just misunderstood because the fees and things haven't been
It's in
established yet, so,
process,
yeah, that's fine. But I'm glad we brought it up now so that you can stop panicking. Yeah, everything else, I don't know. I will, I can reach out to, HPD on the parking tickets front to see if they have any ideas why we're a little behind the 8 ball on that.
I did.
You did? What did they have to
And
say?
it has to do with the delinquent, the ones the parking tickets don't need, we need to get, and, also with the boot, we have to bring the boot back.
Mhm.
That's gonna help. People are gonna pay when they know they
Yeah,
can get the
they have
car.
their car share, Okay, so that's where we are on that front. Sales mortgage and lodging tax, the first two have not changed since the last meeting because we haven't gotten our third sales tax payment nor our second mortgage tax payment in yet. I did update lodging tax through August though, and you can see that we're at about 209,000 year to date versus the budget of 550. So that's looking a little, it was about 230,000 through August last year. So it's a little below. But as you know, between my office and the compliance, SPR compliance stuff that Michelle and Peyton are doing, that's all starting to congeal. So I think we'll start to see the impact of that. Yeah, that's going to be another interesting thing to determine in terms of budget projections, because on one hand, all the people that are running multiple ones that got their 3-year extension from the zoning board, that all expires this year. So all of those are going to go away. There's not that many of them, but it's a couple of people that own multiple properties. But at the same time, hopefully with the additional compliance activities that have been taken, we'll get a higher amount of registration and compliance. So it's going to be, yeah.
Theoretically, when the new hotels ever go online, people can buy potentially increase that dimension.
Okay, so that's basically sort of those key stats.
So one more question. So the cannabis dispensaries, do we see that sales tax separately from the county state sales tax?
Yes, it comes in separately. OSC has prescribed a specific revenue general ledger account number for it, so it will be tracked separately. I just sent this information to Tom last week. We really haven't had a full-fledged dispensary, fully river mercantile, whatever it is. When I went to look up some of the regulations up front, they're currently the only one that's officially registered with the OSC as a dispensary in Hudson. I presume the one in second Warren, right? Will
Third.
Okay. So basically all we've gotten to date is pretty much based on the temporary ones that they've had,
So you haven't gotten any revenue, from the mercantile one yet?
Oh, they were only registered as of July of this year.
Okay.
So it's going to work. I can send this stuff to you. I sent the link to Tom as well. It's the state basically says they're going to collect it and distribute it kind of the same way they do the sales tax on that timely basis. But then the next sentence is, but we don't really know how it's going to work yet. So there may be other intermittent payments. But it should be roughly regular payments. We've gotten 2 payments so far. Very good money because it's just those the pop-ups. Yeah, the pop-ups. What I was surprised because I thought we had been told something different, but it does turn out that the county does take 30% off the top before they distribute it. So
How much do we get?
well, right now we would get the remaining 70% of whatever is collected because currently Hudson is as far as I know, based on the map that OSC has up, Hudson is the only municipality in Columbia County that is actually authorized dispensaries. So we would get, basically Columbia County would take 30% of whatever tax is collected off the top and distribute the rest to us.
And we set that. We set that tax rate?
No,
of the state.
I thought that was going to go directly to Hudson, because the county wasn't getting.
That's what I thought as well. Last time we talked about this, it was like 6 months ago, that it says very clearly that that goes to the county takes 30%, and they distribute the rest of it based on, basically, you know, if there was more than Hudson for Columbia County, then they would parse it out according to, I assume, revenue collected or tax collected.
So it's like every other sales tax.
So that was, but still. Anything else on the various taxing fronts? Okay, so still trying to close out the 2023 financials. I have a meeting with OSC tomorrow to review some outstanding issues that they want to talk about. The audited financial statements of the same year are in the final review with the auditors. They can go through quality control and things like that. So I thought we would have them ready based on the timeline that I was initially given by the auditors. I thought we would have them for this meeting, but we will definitely have them for next meeting. And I will make sure to bring those so that we all have an idea of where we are on that. I will say that to the best of my knowledge, there haven't been any sort of significant adjusting journal entries that they've found or anything. So it should be relatively close to what we filed with New York State. There are some differences because the state wants certain things reported one way and the auditors think it should be reported a different way. So it's literally file it with New York and then make journal entry changes and send it to the auditor because they want to see it in 2 different ways. So it's a little bit of back and forth, but it's fine. Financial systems upgrade. After a long period of time, for those of you that have been here for a while, we are finally getting underway with this. We have we've done an initial data poll and we have discovery phase meeting today for the general ledger. The finance package is the general ledger vouchers, which is how all the bills get paid through the clerks in the different departments. Accounts payable, which is how the bills get paid, and the budgeting software. Obviously, there's a huge amount of work to do to convert everything into the new software, but long story short, our anticipated go live for the general ledger is March of 2025, which is probably about as good as it can be from a timing perspective in terms of all the things that happen in our office. We didn't want it to be delayed this long, but it's about the best time you can get in terms of having to port everything over. Ditto with utility billing, it's on roughly the same time frame, and then tax collection, we're not even going to start the discovery period until early 2025, and the anticipated go live for that is in July. And again, that's about as good as it could be from a timing and implementation standpoint, because we have to develop the budget and then develop the tax bills and issue the tax bills and collect the bills. And so a lot of that work is done in, November, December, January. So this is,
That's discovery.
discovery. Basically you meet with the software developers and you go through sort of how, for example, in the general ledger, how it's currently structured now, what it needs to look like in the new system, what modifications, if anything, need to happen. All of that stuff. Because if that wasn't enough, our software, our lodging tax registration and tax collection software company also decided to upgrade their software at the same time. So we're also in the middle of doing that. But it's going well. They've been very helpful. And it's been really good because Peyton and Michelle have been interacting with them more on the, what do we want to collect from the applicants in terms of what data we might want to. And then we're really focusing more on making sure that the tax collection and what we need to document for, documenting what they're paying and making sure the payments are coming and going through. So, so we're all working really well together, I think, on that cohesive project. 2025 budget, we touched on this a little earlier, but we did receive departmental requests. They're all due by September 10th per the charter. So basically now I spend a bunch of time doing data input into the software, as well as doing, starting to do projections for all of the other things that aren't departmental, which is, like half of the budget easily. So that's what I'm working on. we're gonna continue, confirm with the other members of the BEA, that we're gonna continue like we did last year and have the meetings Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons. I'm gonna be issuing a tentative schedule to the department heads tomorrow, just seeing if those times and work for them, and usually there's a little bit of back and forth, but, and then we're just gonna get going.
They will all be posted on the website, right?
Yes.
Calendar.
So during our finance meetings, we can discuss BA conversations too, or is that something we can do?
I'll see why not. I mean, I could defer to the council president and his vision for the finance committee, but I mean, I guess that's part of the question is what would you guys as the finance committee want to see as we're going through the BEA process? Like,
Something, well, I know that Vicky and I, because we're usually free in the afternoons, we have attended in the past, and
I won't be
to-
able to do Wednesdays anymore.
Okay, but I'm
I will.
gonna attend the
Okay.
meetings. So the thing that I would really like to see, not just for the finance committee, because I've been through this a couple of times now, when it's very detailed, if you go to the meetings, you really get an understanding of where everything came from, what was asked for, what the discussion was, and so on and so forth. And the council right now just gets a presentation of the budget, which takes 5 minutes. The mayor makes a speech and says, here's the budget. And then the council votes on the budget, up or down, always yes. And there really isn't any detailed discussion. What I would like to see is a presentation of the budget, not in the absolute granular detail of BEA meetings, but a presentation that goes department by department, like at the high level, saying this is what it was last year, this is what it is this year, here are the major differences, here's why they are different, etc. So that the council has an understanding at the departmental level of what is contained in the budget. Because I do not think that how it's currently done, that anyone who didn't go to the BEA meetings could possibly have any understanding of what's really in that budget. So I would really like to see that kind of presentation of the budget, whether that happens in this committee or in the full council. I would prefer to see it in the full council.
I also think what we can do, I agree with you, but I don't think it's Heather's.
No,
responsibility. So what I think we should do is in a formal meeting, when each department does their presentation, to also tell us what is about their budget of 2025. You know, maybe we can request that from each department. Hey, you know, HPD, what is going on? What is the big fluctuation here?
Right, so you mean like once the BEA has arrived at a budget to present, then each department has to present, okay,
At
this
the
is
formal
what we had, this has different.
It's more like a paragraph. It's just
I think
explaining
that's reasonable, but somebody has to explain it.
I think the departments should do it.
Yeah, I like that actually.
Are you okay with it, Tom?
It's not my choice.
Okay.
You know,
I would
Cannot-
assume it would be the mayor's choice, yeah? I mean, it would be your choice to request and or allow such presentations, but
Yeah, I'm not sure what the purpose would be out there. You know, this is limit what the council can do. But only,
Well, the
It is.
council can say, well, we don't think that in this particular scenario here, that this is a justified increase. And they can say, no, we're not going to accept the budget as it is, but we want to see a cut here, we want to see something else there.
Right.
But right
I
now,
think out of courtesy, it's important the department head, when they say what happened for the month, to also say, this is how our budget looks. And that's all.
and you know, every single
Doesn't
one of them
have to
will
be-
say, what I really need is this, but the BEA took it away from me. So we're gonna try and do the best we can.
So I think, how do we communicate that to the department heads? Is that something you can do, or we need one of us can send it? Maybe the chair of the finance?
Well, like Heather said, I mean, if the department has to present this, I think that maybe the BEA could present it, because the BEA is making the decisions about why they gave. This department requested X, they received Y, and why is that?
I think that's true, that's true.
Because the BEA is making the decisions.
But the
on who
BA
receives
doesn't
it.
come to the council. I mean, the BA doesn't really come to the council. It's more the
Well,
departments
I know.
come. Oh, it's department, they have to,
But I guess I want to go back to the concept of the presentation of the budget to the council.
Yeah.
I would like that to be a legitimate presentation with some substance, so that we understand. what the budget-
Are the BEA meetings available via Zoom?
They were, I thought.
Were they? I thought Dominic,
Wow.
no, Dominic
It was
wasn't,
just- it was just too much to ask.
Okay.
Dominic, because Dominic wasn't able to attend last time.
Yeah, I think the best is if we just have either a presentation for BA, but I think that's, the BA usually doesn't come to the conference, so, you
It
know.
can be a special budget meeting where they present the budget, they have to be presented.
Well, that does already exist and the
No,
mayor
that
is
takes 5
responsible
minutes.
for.
It's,
But the meeting already exists and the presentation is part of that. So perhaps the answer is that the presentation that is provided by the mayor is expanded to include more of
That's
the
what I would like to
detailed
see.
information, which, would.
that
most
is what
likely
I would
be
like
me.
to see.
Well, that's why I felt like the department heads, they know better. I mean, not they know better. They're the ones asking. So they can say, yes, I want to buy that boat. And that's what threw the budget off. I mean,
We've gotten,
we
we've
can,
gotten a little better.
why don't we ask, okay, I'll ask the mayor. Is that okay for you all? So I'll ask the mayor what he prefers and we'll go from there.
In theory, it wouldn't necessarily be that much more onerous because, especially in the last maybe 5 years or so, we've started being like, instead of just going and changing the number from 100,000 to 80,000. So I will now literally put line item and it'll be minus 20,000 and the reason why. So that actually is in the budget document itself that you can look at
Yeah,
and
the
see.
work
But
documents.
I can understand that consolidating sort of the high level modifications would be useful and
As I can tell you, these BA meetings in the past, not that long ago, were held in Bradford. So it's, it's come a long way already. But I think Ed's right, the presentation should be more of a presentation because that's the only opportunity the council really has to say no.
and obviously I'm willing to work with Kamal to any extent required.
And Tom, it's
It's
not
phone
even
limits
necessarily to say
to
no,
hold
it's so
it.
that we understand what we're going to get.
Sure. Yeah. Telephone.
We could certainly, we're gonna start our BEA meetings, I think, starting next week probably, so, I think that'll probably be one of the first conversations the three of us have, and I'm sure, I can't imagine Kamal would be opposed to it, so.
So you can, you can just let us know in the next meeting what you decide.
And so the BEA meetings be available to us now?
I said before, after, Heather has always offered to meet with council members to go over the details of the budget.
Yeah.
Secondly, Zoom,
Or whatever. Online.
I don't know about that.
I mean, we could do it.
I mean, this is kind of,
It is a pain, but.
no, go ahead.
Then Madonna wants it.
I mean, you don't have, we don't have. I just want to listen to it once.
In fact, the public is not allowed to comment.
The public's not-
Yeah.
Like, we don't comment when we know.
Right,
just
there's
sit there
no
and
conflict, so the audio is off. It's just like
Well,
C-SPAN, largely.
in fact, as Margaret should remember, I think the mayor did allow you.
Oh, yeah, well, I occasionally ask questions, which I answer. But in general, I don't ask questions unless I'm asked if I want to. But Dominic, I already spoke up for you in wanting remote access to the BEA meetings.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, so who would we follow up with that?
I thought you said you were at the BA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, that means every time we got to set this up, I'm not gonna, because Logan's not there during the day. So, everything's way about set to do it. Are you coming, Jerry?
So,
I'll try to do it, I'll try. I mean, I can. I know how to, so,
At the meetings here?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I can, if you want to train me, I can also be a
and
better.
I'll do it.
Just often.
Because I'll be using my computer anyway, to look at this stuff, so I'm not as well.
Tom, I asked you in an email about the position of parking coordinator.
Yeah, that's, sorry, I didn't get back to you. That's not something we can't create that resolution. We have to get the mayor to agree.
Yeah, no, the mayor agreed though. I told you, I checked with the mayor,
Oh.
said he's agreeing for the grant coordinator and the parking coordinator. There's 2 part-time positions. So we have agreed, but then I spoke to Heather and she said we have to allocate about those 2 part-time positions. We have to allocate in which department they're going to be placed. So that's the issue.
Well, that's one of the issues. So one of the issues
Yeah.
is that neither of those, no department has submitted either of those positions as part of their budget. So that's obviously a key component, but also don't forget, we're talking civil service here. So there also has to be a job description that has to be developed. It has to be approved by the Civil Service Commission. I mean, there are,
Right.
So but we need the parking coordinator.
And what if we do it the way we did, the job for, hey,
thing.
Is that part-time, is that?
Yeah, she's part-time. I assume that a job description was written for that and submitted to civil service. So
okay, let's see, that. I'll try to find out. I didn't write it, so I don't know.
Okay.
You might want to run through. You know, we-
So this is, so which department is that? Is that the mayor's office?
Yeah.
That's both positions that will be coming from the mayor's office. Okay,
I would think so, yeah.
so will you write it, will you find out about the description? Okay, awesome. That'll be great.
I did
Because the
reach,
new systems are arriving and we, you know.
I did reach
For
out
us to do.
6 months ago or so to civil service and asked if they had anything
Mhm.
that remotely resembled like the grant coordinator we're talking about. They sent a couple of things back. I don't know them all, but in my opinion, none of them really fit. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be one of those things where we have to
Okay.
sort of define it ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think you would take you on for that person.
On the
No,
grant,
no, no.
on the grant coordinator, is that something that would be better getting into your department?
Not necessarily. I think it depends on,
Okay.
I think it depends on what the function of the grant coordinator is, but really all I need to know is that reimbursements are getting submitted. I need to know when they're getting submitted because that determines when we have to book the revenue regardless of when we receive the reimbursements. I need to know when to expect it to come in. Like we just had one today. We had two amounts dropped into our sweep account, which is where a lot of these things go. And it's like, you know, you get some random code numbers from in the OSC descriptor in the statewide financial system portal that we have to use. That takes us like, 15 minutes to try and figure out what this is even for. So I would imagine the grant coordinator would be able to provide us with that kind of
Because
information.
that's why I'm thinking it might be better suited to report to you.
Well, Michael Huffman did out of the mayor's office because the grant coordinator has a lot of other top things to do. So you're dealing directly with the mayor and the common council. You know,
Yeah.
getting things out there, getting off, getting information out.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Huffman did a lot of
How about
Yes.
the parking? Parking is.
All right, we should get through this agenda quick, folks.
Yeah, the rest of it's all basically stuff that is just staying on here. I just have one budget amendment. I know there's a lot of resolutions out there, but for my department, there's just the one. New York State Local and Retirement System has updated and changed all of their systems. We're being forced into what they call a gold standard. We don't have an option. Part of that requires a specific data be uploaded on a regular basis in a specific format. In order for us to do that, we need our payroll company to write that report. So that was budgeted in 2024, but it has to be done. So you'll see that one. And yeah, everything else we can just
I mean,
discuss next month.
action items on our part before, between now and next month, and that you need us fundamental, I mean, that's.
I mean, yeah, I would think if you want to have a discussion, and I don't know if you want to, I mean, it's really up to you guys whether you want to determine as a finance committee what your proposed percentages
So
will
what
be,
was
and
the
then
last-
recommend it to the greater council, or whether you want to go to the council with some proposed ideas and get bigger council input. That's all for you.
What was it last year?
The last time that we had it, it was between 25 and 35% of revenue. And we had talked about reducing that.
One other item, the 25,000 assemblage, do you want to discuss that?
25,000,
75, sorry.
75,000, yeah.
80. That's it, 80? Okay,
I
any,
don't know where the extra 5,000 is coming from. I mean, Vicky and I talked about this briefly today. I did go back and look, and the $75,000 was in fact appropriated back in May during the special meeting where you voted to go forward with the project. So the $75,000 is there. If the contract's really for 80, then you're gonna have to maybe amend the resolution to include another 5,000, because technically Kamal cannot sign that contract unless all the money has been appropriated for it. So I don't know where the extra
This
5,000.
is not a, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Wendy, I'm not going to, Wendy, this isn't a council meeting, this is a finance committee meeting.
This
But-
is my week,
So Rich is actually the person in charge.
so week.
No, you can drop your hands up. Yeah, you can raise your hand, you can do it.
Oh, can I speak?
okay, sure.
Oh, thank you. I'm Wendy Andringa, the, runner who has the contract for the Sun Lodge.
I can
And,
see it.
the additional 5,000 is actually reimbursable expenses for permitting fees. And it was written into the contract that, they need to be pre-approved, before they're spent by council. So, you know,
But I thought that 75,000 was for permitting. I mean, the 200, it's 275,000 and you're asking for another 5, so it's 280. But I thought it's all the things we're doing is permitting, right?
right, it's at your discretion at this point. I mean, they need to be pre-approved, the expenses by council, so.
Okay, but in any case, they can't be pre-approved by the council unless money has been appropriated to cover those expenses. So I don't know if you want to do it as part of the resolution tonight and have the attorney modify it, but you're going to need to appropriate another $5,000 if
Okay.
those are going to be part of the
I
contract.
would probably amend it tonight.
Yeah,
Do we have a
I know
breakdown?
it's going to be use of fund balance, so.
Do we have a breakdown of that?
We're gonna do that during the meeting.
we have a presentation.
Okay, great, that's fine. Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay, so no other business? Okay. Adjourn.
Yes.
Okay, second, yeah. Great, thank you very much, thank you, Heather.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, have a good night. 6.